Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, jiayanu, khuyamorkh pakhair, ragle, bonjour. So many other words, so many greetings for you early in the morning. Welcome to Well This Morning with Shiza Hashmi on a beautiful but a sad Monday morning. Mondays are always sad, but it's also sort of unfair to treat Mondays like that. They're just probably the ugly sisters of Tuesday. I mean, why that hatred towards Monday? But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I always tell you I've had my coffee, the spirits are lifted. But today, with coffee, I have something else as well. This was something traditional, so all my life, I've been surrounded by people, who always tell me to have chai with rusk. I'm not a chai person. I know all of you hate me out there. But I'm a coffee person, so I tried coffee and rusk today, and it was almost as amazing as I think chai and rusk would be. So ladies and gentlemen, my Monday morning was great. I hope yours is too. Let's take a look at the weather updates from around the country, and then we move on to what we're talking about. I think there is a lot of rainfall expected because even in the Twin Cities ever since last 2 or 3 days, we've been having rain spells in different adjoining areas of Islamabad. Well, scattered rain with snowfall over the hills accompanied by windstorm expected in Hazara, Rawalpindi, Gujranwala divisions, Islamabad, Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan, while at isolated places in Malakan, Peshawar, Lahore, Makran and Kalat divisions as well. Landslides may occur in Malakan, Hazara divisions, Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir during this period. Cold and dry weather expected elsewhere in the country. So these are the weather updates, the general weather updates that we received this morning for different parts of the country. Everyone out there, I hope you're safe, but so let's begin what we're talking about today. So this is sort of interesting and funny as well. We had to talk about this last Friday and then maybe even Thursday as well, but because we felt like we should, stand by the true spirit of this word, we had to push it to another week. We were observing Procrastination Week last week, ladies and gentlemen. Not a lot of you know about it. Even I didn't know until my producers told me, you know what, we are observing Procrastination Week and we need to talk about it. And then I was like, if we are going to talk about Procrastination Week, why not delay it for another week? So here we are again, ladies and gentlemen, with some people that we need to discuss, strategies of how to overcome procrastination and how it is different for people leading different lifestyles and, belonging to different capacities of life. And when we talk about procrastination, it's not something new. The idea of it is actually not new to humankind at all. It dates back in time. Even the ancient Greek had to sort of, observe or experience procrastination. That is why Aristotle sort of coined a term for it. It was called akrasia, which loosely translates to, yes, procrastination. Before I give it all away, there's this beautiful, beautiful poem that sort of embodies all of this topic. It's by a very famous poet. All of you know him. He's Munir Niazi. So ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this. And when we come back, we introduce the guests to you.
देता हूँ मैं ज़रूरी बात कहनी हो कोई वादा निभाना हो उसे आवाज़ देनी हो उसे वापस बुलाना हो हमेशा देर कर देता हूँ मैं मदद करनी हो उसकी यार की ढारस बंधाना हो बहुत देरी न रस्तों पर किसी से मिलने जाना हो हमेशा देर कर देता हूँ मैं बदलते मौसमों की सैर में दिल को लगाना हो किसी को याद रखना हो किसी को भूल जाना हो हमेशा देर कर देता हूँ मैं किसी को मौत से पहले किसी गम से बचाना हो हकीकत और थी कुछ उसको जाके ये बताना हो हमेशा देर कर देता हूँ
क्या शुक्रिया
Well, this was Hamesha Der Kar Deta Hoon by Munir Niazi. And ladies and gentlemen, sorry, trust to me, I have goosebumps because of this. Because when I was watching the video, the people in the video, the audiences, they are the pioneers of PTV. We can never, ever forget them. I mean, they are actually the true meaning of artists in Pakistan ever since, we've been having TV in Pakistan. So ladies and gentlemen, just to start the day, I think this was a beautiful note. Beautiful, of course, Munir Niazi, how can we forget that? Without further ado, time now to introduce our guest because I cannot wait to talk about something that is so close to me. I procrastinate a lot. Be it my assignments that I have to do for university, any sort of project, even my thesis I had to procrastinate for extra 2 weeks. So I think this is what we will be talking about. All of you should be relating to this because Pakistanis are one of the biggest procrastinators, in a good way sometimes. So on my right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by someone who is, let's say, a beacon of, let's say, learning for all of us here at PTV World. She is one of the very best that we have. She happens to be an anchor, a poet, a writer, and so many labels to herself. She's a mother, a grandmother, and you know, she just does a lot. We're going to ask her how. This is Miss Shabnam Riaz. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Salam. Good morning, and it's lovely to see you and your
Absolutely.
cheerful, vibrant show. And another thing I must say is it's so nice to be on this side of the sofa.
I know, right? I was about to ask you, how does it feel? Also, how does it
Lovely.
feel to wake early in the morning? Because you're not a morning
I've
person.
realised I'm not a morning person.
You're not?
So, you know, I really appreciate all of you, the morning team, who are
Thank you so much. But you know,
energetic first thing in the morning.
it's all because
Wonderful.
of my coffee, I always tell you. DM me to ask me what my coffee is because it really does wonders. But next to Ms. Shabnam, we have someone who happens to be a psychologist and will be speaking about what real effects does this force called procrastination have on all of us. He is Fazal Wahid. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How
So
are
good
you?
to have you early in the morning.
Thank you very much.
And next to Mr. Fazil, we have someone who a lot of you can relate to. She happens to be a student. She's doing her master's from a well-renowned university of the Twin Cities. Maha Qayyum, hello, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me here.
Our pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, perfect.
Luckily, I'm procrastinating again.
Okay, perfect. So did you guys know 20% of the world population are actually chronic procrastinators? Like, for real, this is a fact. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm one of the 20% of the world.
Same here.
Ma'am Shabnam, no, I'm pretty sure you're not a procrastinator. You're a go-getter. Mashallah, you're such an achiever. To begin with, have you ever experienced procrastination in your life?
Definitely.
Yes?
Definitely.
Okay.
And you know, you will be able to find out from our expert why that is.
Okay.
I've always wondered, you know, what is this sort of this thing that overcomes you?
Right.
Because it's a force in itself.
It is,
You know,
indeed.
procrastination is, of course, you know, something that you know has to be done.
Right.
But you're in the act of delaying it.
Yeah.
So why do we delay it? Because it's something that we know we can't get without, whether it's an assignment or an important phone call you have to
Right.
make or something else, you know, visit you have to pay. So I think, you know, deep down, we will understand what the psychological implications are. But then, you know, when we were talking about procrastination, I was amazed to find out that
Yeah.
there is a week to
Imagine
observe
that.
it, you know, and I was thinking, okay, so that means that there may be good things out of procrastination
Right.
if you're keeping it within control.
Yes.
And then another thing is that there are many famous people who were procrastinators.
Okay, okay.
And if you think of Da Vinci, he was a very famous procrastinator, and
Okay.
it took him about 16 years to finish the Mona Lisa.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I think we can get some amazing masterpieces even if you are a procrastinator. And when we were talking about, you know, how we had a proper full week, 7 days for procrastination. So there are different ways of how people are observing it across the globe. Some take the week off. I mean, some have holidays, of course, because they're procrastinating. Some make it a challenge and, you know, want to accomplish tasks that they haven't done before. And some just keep procrastinating and do what they're best at. So
what they do
before we
best.
do listen to what the scientific, you know, explanation of this is, I think I have to move to Maha over here. Because you being a student, a lot of people right now can relate to you. And ever since I can remember myself being a student, I have been procrastinating, be it class, let's say the 4th grade, or be it my university right now. What about you? Are you a procrastinator?
I'm like the queen of
Guilty as
procrastination.
charged?
Yeah, guilty as charged. So what happens with me, like it's a daily routine for me.
Okay.
It's a weekly routine for me. This is so that I get readings on like every week, and I'll be done by, I have 2 days off, I have 4 days
Right.
off, I'll be done with them by the weekend and all. And then comes the Tuesday, and then there's the Wednesday when I have to like write the summaries and submit them, and I'm like, okay.
This is
I
not
got-
going to happen.
That's not going to happen at all.
So we will definitely talk about how you think you can overcome that, but coming to you now. Mr. Fazal, what do you think are the real, let's say, the explanation behind procrastination? Because everyone that I know happens to experience it at some level.
A recent piece of research, it says that procrastination has nothing to do with work,
Okay, okay.
right? And it says that actually procrastination is a form of relief.
Right.
It is a form of stress relief.
Okay.
Because the people who struggle the most with procrastination are PhD students.
Yes.
They are engineers, they are entrepreneurs, and people who have a lot on their plate and they have a lot of things to do, you know, so they procrastinate usually. They are the people who struggle the most with procrastination. So they said that, you know, it is a form of stress relief because behind the procrastination, we need to address, until and unless we don't address the thing underneath it, we cannot handle procrastination.
Right.
And the thing underneath is stress.
Okay.
For example, if you have financial stress or you have a deadline for your thesis or whatever the task is, now that stress actually gives a message to your mind that, you know, there's a lot to do and you need to get a break.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, having that stress in your mind and you go to work and then you look at the list and there are 15 calls you have to make and that requires your prefrontal cortex. Now, your prefrontal cortex looks at the list and it says, oh my God, I have to make
So much to
15
do.
calls. I have so much to do. Take a
Right.
break, you know. Okay, let's watch some YouTube videos. Let's Google something. Let's, you know, scroll the Facebook, and they open the Facebook and then they scroll and
They're
scroll
lost
and
for
scroll and scroll.
hours.
And it lasts for hours. And
Yeah.
then they look again at the list and say, oh my God, I didn't make it. And then again, so behind the procrastination is actually the stress
Right.
that causes procrastination.
Or can
And
we also say it's the work pressure that sort of creates the stress? But Mr. Fazal, you sort of mentioned all the people who are procrastinators. I genuinely need to ask, who are not procrastinators? I mean, are there any people who are
Actually,
not?
there was a program on procrastination that I was watching, and the speaker of that program, he explains it wonderfully. He said,
Okay.
you know, I was really curious, like, what would be the difference between the brain of a procrastinator and the brain of a non-procrastinator? And then on a lighter note, he said that, you know, I actually went to a laboratory and
Okay.
MRIs, and I had scans. And he came with a very wonderful conclusion
Right.
that, you know, people who are non-procrastinator, they have that rational decision maker in the
Okay.
brain.
Okay.
But people who are procrastinator, they have that instant gratification monkey as well
Right, okay,
in their
makes
brain,
perfect
you know.
sense, yeah.
So that instant gratification actually, that tells you that no, okay, you have enough time, you can do it later. For
Reward
now,
yourself
just
first and
reward
then
yourself
work.
first. So fun and easy activities.
Okay.
So people tend to get involved in fun and easy activities and try to avoid activities that are causing stress.
Okay,
Just
perfect.
to avoid stress, they procrastinate.
Right,
So
that
the
makes
major
perfect
difference
sense.
is actually that instant gratification. And there have been many researches and many studies on instant gratification. They took children
Okay.
of different ages,
Right.
and you know, then they gave them a pastry, you know,
Okay.
a cake.
Yeah.
And they observe how they eat it. So the people who ate the cake part first and the pastry, like the creamy part later, were considered disciplined children, and they were then tracked through their entire life, and they were found very successful in their lives. And people who preferred to eat the creamy part first actually were considered non-disciplined children because
Okay.
they followed instant gratification monkey. And they, when they tracked them in their lives later on, they were not that successful.
Wow. Wow, such an amazing study. But ladies and gentlemen, you know what? Procrastination is not laziness. It's actually an inability, sort of. I mean, that is what I feel like. You know, in different households, there are different sort of systems that, you know, work for different sort of people. So if a teacher ever calls a parent and tells them that their child is being a procrastinator and not doing their work, they would be so, I was going to use the wrong word. They would be so angry about it. Although, I mean, throughout their lives, maybe they were procrastinators as well. So just before the show, Ms. Shabnam and I were discussing how, you know, different households can sort of alter the way that you live. Please explain it to everyone out there as well. I mean, when you see it at your house, your parents probably, or anyone elder or your guardians being a procrastinator, you sort of develop that habit too.
True. And for many, you know, households, it's something that is happening on a subconscious level.
Okay.
You may not have been able to realize exactly what's happening, but the thing is that children will always mimic your behavior.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter how much, you know, you sort of, you preach to them as you deliver these speeches. The thing that they are going to pick up on is exactly how you behave. So
Right.
if they are watching you, leaving everything till the last minute, then it'll sort of become this, this unspoken rule in the house where they're picking up on this thing. That, okay, it's okay to leave things. And as we were told by our expert that, this is sometimes a stress reliever, sometimes it also actually adds to the stress as well.
Oh, okay.
Because what happens is if you're leaving everything to last minute,
Right, of
then you'll
course.
find a whole accumulation of things. And actually, I think in that way that can also,
It becomes a vicious
yeah, a
circle.
vicious
But there are some
yeah.
people who are actually sort of, let's say, thrill seekers,
Yeah.
who sort of want to push things to the
adrenaline
end, to the
rush.
last moment, of course,
Yeah.
and want to experience it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it happens, it sort of directs itself to a bad way too. I mean, let's look at a mother, a housewife. So when you have a lot of dishes to do, let's say, and then you have a lot of other things, just an
not
example.
something
just
that a
an
person will be
example.
really looking forward to, isn't
No,
it?
yeah, I mean, of course,
So you're putting
imagine,
it off.
I'm
yeah.
one of those people.
Yeah.
There's so many dishes in my sink, let's say, that I have to do. And I would keep pushing it till the last moment until, my mom calls me from outside. She's like, I'm about to reach. Have you done the chores? And then I just push
Last minute.
myself. I
And
know.
lots of people can be familiar with that
Right.
situation.
So does that
yeah.
happen? Okay, let's start with you being a student. Again, does that happen to you? Are you a thrill seeker? Is this your understanding of, let's say, what procrastination is in your life?
Exactly, this happens to me during exams.
Okay.
When we have a lot of readings and we don't do them like on time. So at the end, at the final day, we will be like, I know that I can do those readings in like 15 to 20 minutes. I can wrap them up and all.
Okay.
But then again, procrastinating, I just delay these things. I'm just like relieving myself. I'll do that. I'll do
So,
that at the
okay,
last
are
minute.
you a good student? I mean, in terms of results, if you do procrastinate a lot, what are the outcomes?
Luckily, this time I'm lucky with my results and all. But,
Oh, wow.
during my bachelor's degree, I paid a heavy price for that.
Okay, perfect. That I think makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to make full use of the moment over here when Miss Shabnam is present in the morning on our show. She happens to be a writer and a poet, as I've already mentioned, and she was here, I think, last time you were here with your textbook that people are using in their schools to teach students. But this time, she has a poem she wrote about procrastination. It was so long, but because we're observing Procrastination Week, we thought we should do just a summary of it, just a bit of it. So, ma'am, please go ahead, tell us what it sounds like, and then maybe we can explain it or pick out meanings ourselves.
Right, sure. Okay, that's lovely. Well, the thing is, I'll tell you a bit of the background as
Yes,
well to why I
please.
wrote this. Again, that habit of putting things on to the last minute. It's a funny sort of an example, but when we were talking about, house and housework as well, I noticed that, the pile of laundry was really piling up, okay?
That
And-
one chair in the room.
Yeah, right, okay. So the laundry basket is sort of overflowing
Okay.
and it starts raining,
Oh,
okay?
no.
It starts raining and then I think to myself, oh my God, I had so much laundry, I'll do it now.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why on earth am I doing it now out of
Why
all the
would
days
you?
that it's
Right.
raining? And then so I started thinking and I ended up writing a poem about it.
So you were
that's why.
supposed to do laundry for a very long time, but you eventually ended up writing a poem. Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly. So this is how it goes.
Yeah.
I will always do laundry on a rainy day.
Okay.
I don't know the reason why. When the last grains fall from the hourglass, it's then I do or die. My cauldron of thoughts bubbles and steams. The marination does never tire. Until the rim can't hold it in, it boils over and puts out the fire. To say goodbye in a flippant way while I'm really breaking inside. Can't you see past my words or look into my eyes, uncover what these smiles hide? When the crowd moves in reason to better horizons, to find their pastures new, I'll stay with the flowers refusing to bloom while we search for a bee or two. So I will always do laundry on a rainy day. I don't know the reason why. When the last grains fall from the hourglass, it's then I'll do or die.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And should I tell you, Ms. Shabnam, more than the words, I feel like your voice itself, I've told you this before, it's so soothing. We can listen to it for like 5 hours straight probably.
Thank you,
But this was
thank
so
you so
beautiful. And
much.
I think a lot of us can relate to it because especially when it's raining outside and you are maybe doing the laundry or maybe done with it, it's the worst. Everything goes in vain. I mean, why would you do something like that? And that is where
Exactly.
I feel like procrastination kicks in, because you
Yeah.
failed at something that you should have done before, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do anything else. But Mr. Fazal, I feel like when you are procrastinating quite a lot in your life, this is sort of a fear of probably facing the failure or even success, fear of facing the results. Is it true?
Yes, that has also a contributing factor in that. Actually, if we look at it closely, what procrastination is basically,
Yeah.
procrastination is the instant gratification trap.
Okay.
Play now and pay later concept
Yeah.
actually gives birth to procrastination.
Right.
Human beings, we are programmed from the childhood, you know, to bring comfort and convenience into our lives.
Okay.
We have made our homes very convenient, so we don't tend to go out, and we are becoming indoor generations because of that.
Okay.
So this comfort and convenience, it is actually leading us to the procrastination. What happens, you know, we have two faculties, very excellent faculties. One is called memory and the other one is called imagination.
Okay.
We do not use these two faculties at the time of procrastination, nor do we remember the past, you know, what procrastination did to us, nor do we imagine the future, what will happen to us if we procrastinate and what will happen if we do not. So this basically two things, there are two things, major things that motivates us. One is pain and the other one is pleasure. These are two things that motivate us.
Definitely, right.
And what do you think, which one is the strongest, pain or pleasure?
I feel like pleasure.
No, it's the pain.
Okay, well,
Pain
I
is a
am
very
dumb like
strong
that.
motivator. Yeah, pain actually motivates us like anything, not the pleasure all the time. It's the
Okay,
pain.
okay.
Like she said, ki, you know, when the deadline comes, then I do it. So actually, it's the pain that motivates her, not the pleasure that I'll be free on time or something like that.
Okay.
So it's the pain. Now, how can we utilize that pain to help us in procrastination, help us deal with procrastination? That is imagination. That one we call default future and the other one we call design future. You should paint those two pictures very vividly, like what will happen if I do it and what will happen if I don't do it.
Right, pros
And
and
once
cons
you
of it.
see those two pictures very vividly, that will give you pain and that will motivate you actually. It's like bringing the future into your present and see the consequences for yourself. So that kind of motivates you that the pleasure do not motivate you for.
Oh, perfect. That makes sense. Maha, you were smiling throughout this whole conversation. Are you learning a lot?
Yes, I am exactly, and I related. I can relate to what you said. It's sort of not a stress relief. Basically, it's fear of losing something. So yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Although I know that my readings are quite very much interesting, and I have a lot of interest in what those readings are about, but I'm always like
What are they usually about?
They usually are because I'm doing my master's in peace and conflict studies. So
Okay.
basically about all the contemporary issues, the global issues, about Pakistan, about international.
So there's a reason you don't read them.
No, they're very interesting. They're very interesting.
But ladies and gentlemen, I think whoever's watching the show right now, you must be thinking about the movie Breakfast Club. So we are going to head out to a trailer of that. We can probably relate to it as well. But when we come back, I'm going to ask my guests about one incident that you can recall in your life that you kept procrastinating about, and then it went in vain. I mean, it was a big loss for you. So think about it. Let's head out to watch this trailer. Good morning.
Now, 7:06. You have exactly 8 hours and 54 minutes to ponder the error of your ways. Any questions?
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
It was the film that defined a generation,
Being bad feels pretty good.
with an amazing cast of 80s all-stars.
Chicks cannot hold their smoke. That's what it is.
The Breakfast Club in an all-new 30th anniversary edition.
Forgot my pencil.
Relive every unforgettable moment, meticulously restored frame by frame for HD picture and theater quality sound. Loaded with bonus features, including an all-new interactive trivia track.
Are you a teen?
Constant level. You know, give it yoga.
So sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we kept talking about something so interesting related to procrastination, and I think, misheard the cue that my producer sent for me coming back. But ladies and gentlemen, I told you that I'm going to ask my guests a sad incident of probably, you know, when they procrastinated and then something really sad happened to their life because they made a bad decision. So I think Ms. Shabnam has a story to share.
Well, it's not really that sad. It's
Okay,
just, you know,
okay. It's funny, let's say.
yes, it's sort of funny. So what happens is that, you know, you will know this very well, when you're working in the media, the wardrobe and outfits.
Oh dear God.
You see, I've touched a nerve, haven't
Yeah.
I?
Oh dear.
to
Early in the
remember,
morning.
to remember, you know, what you wore on the last episode of the program that you're sort of presenting, and or maybe the news bulletin. Sometimes it gets a lot too much. So usually I try to work out what I'm going to wear throughout the week. But sometimes when you get a bit too overconfident or too relaxed, you think, okay, I'll just, you know, decide in the morning. And so I remember once I repeated an outfit that I'd worn the previous day, and I actually got a message from someone, and they said that, you know, you've repeated, you just wore that yesterday. Why did you wear that?
Rude. Oh,
And I was
you
like,
deal with
okay,
that?
I really have to think about my wardrobe in advance, you know.
I know, but
So
how did
that's
you
a form-
answer that?
I don't know. I thought it was funny actually, because they really don't know what we go through.
But, you know, it
It's so hard
happens-
to plan.
Of course, it happens all the time. You have to open YouTube, watch the show, you know, some clips of it, and then be like, oh, this is something I've already worn. You can't
And
redo
very
it.
recently, I can't repeat it.
Of
you know,
course,
so
I mean,
quickly.
it takes, I think for me, it's safe to say it takes almost like 1 month or probably 5 to 6 weeks when it's safe to rewear something.
Right.
Right? Because
Exactly.
people tend to forget by
Yeah.
then. But I think right now, coming back to procrastination, I have a question for Mr. Fazal over here. Just a while ago, Ms. Shabnam and I had started talking about parenting and how, you know, it usually impacts the personality that a kid develops. So if a parent finds out that their kid is you know, just probably tilted towards or inclined towards being a procrastinator in the future, they're looking at signs, they're picking cues, what should they do to save his personality?
Actually, you were talking to Shabnam about it. We also had a program previously, and in that program we also discussed, we touched actually parenting to some extent. The parents, they should not look at the children and pick the cues, they should look at themselves. Actually what happens, the children, they use their eyes more than they use their ears, right? They the modeling, like they look at the parent and they absorb whatever they see. They look at the parent and they repeat whatever they see. Okay, so the best way to teach your kids whatever you are going to teach is modeling.
Okay.
Is you do it, bring it in your life. If the parents are procrastinator, the children are definitely going to be procrastinators, right? So if you want your children to be non-procrastinator, you have to be first non-procrastinator first
Okay, so
yourself.
you have to be a role model for
A
whatever
role
you want to
model,
teach
exactly,
them.
exactly. So by role modeling, you can teach them. Then you can tell them stories. They like stories, so you can tell them stories where the end is like in the process, in the plot of that story, there should not be any procrastination.
Okay.
But the best thing is modeling. If they are non-procrastinator, the children are going to repeat. They are going to model, they are going to see the parents and repeat it in an exaggerated form, because parents are role models for the children, and whatever they do, they take it very seriously. The children take it very seriously when they
Yes,
see their parents doing something. So modeling is very important. In that second, their programming, you need to tell them repeatedly, hammering.
Okay.
You need to tell them repeatedly what procrastination is and what procrastination can do to their lives.
Right.
And procrastination can eat the results and the consequences, the best consequences, the best moments, the best productivity moments of their lives. So that is how you can teach your children for non-procrastination.
But is there a right age to start teaching them about it? Because when they are in the teenagers, I mean, they are rebellious so much, they don't want to learn anything
I
from
think
you
you just
anymore.
have to, you know, be diplomatic about it, because if you, whatever age of child you're dealing with, you know, if you fall into the constant sort of nagging and the constant complaint sort of, you know, approach, then a child, no matter what age, will at some time just shut off
Yes, of
and not be that receptive.
Okay.
So if you sort of, you know, gently, and then you also have to understand how much a child, or, you know, you yourself, as he said, you know, we have to understand first ourselves. Are we actually the ones who are influencing this behavior? And then how much is it making an impact on your daily life, on your relationships, because it can affect relationships as well.
Definitely, yes, of course.
So you've got to look at the whole package, and then the best way to do it, I think, is to encourage a person, and especially children as well, and just, you know, gently remind them, and then give them examples, share funny stories, and look at yourself as well, because if you are you know, a victim of procrastination and you have this trouble, it can cause a lot of chaos.
And it can go a very long way, and I think it's really true. Children usually do adopt to the patterns of what their parents are doing. So one of my producers here on the show, Vakas, shared a video just a few days back about you know, his daughter, and she is a little mashallah, but she happens to, you know, copy everything he does. And in the future, inshallah, when she grows up, if she happens to copy Vakas, then she will be delaying things a lot because he is a procrastinator.
We should have had him on the show.
I know, right? He should be here. But Ms. Shabnam, you know, it's not always bad. I mean, I'm pretty sure you are an artist, you would know. Sometimes you can change procrastinator into, you know, a procrastination into something good, maybe creativity or something. Is that possible? And if yes, how?
That is true. That is true. There's not always everything wrong about it. I'm not advocating procrastination, but there are certain situations where it may be a tool if used effectively. So in the creative process, of course, whatever medium of expression you're using, whether you're an artist, whether you're a musician, a poet, a writer, whatever, you need time to absorb. So you are going to be exposed to some sort of a stimulus, and then you're going to absorb that. You're going to think about it, and then you're going to think about your medium of expression. So that way, sort of dwelling on an idea, dwelling on a poem, or thinking about something you want to paint, or music you want to write, it can be helpful.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So I think for a lot of you guys out there, again, I'll be talking about students because I know most of their life actually revolves around, you know, the work that they get from school. Sometimes it gets so boring. The brain gets boring as well. I mean, why do you have to study all the time? It's true, I can totally relate to it. So you can venture that time of non-productivity into something creative. I mean, draw something, write something, you know, probably watch something
And
as
you
well.
might be amazed at the hidden skills you have and the hidden talents you have. So always take up a new hobby, I would
Oh,
think.
you've just started painting as well. I just, she's on my Facebook, and I realized, I think this was a day ago or two, you started painting. You're learning it from someone. How
I'm
did you
learning it.
hop on
Yeah,
this hobby?
a very good friend of mine, Shiri, she's teaching me. She's an artist herself, and I've always wanted to paint.
Okay.
But I always thought it was so impossible. You know, I used to admire artists and their paintings and everything, and I used to really think it was something I could never do. So when I actually found out about the art classes and I joined, I was amazed. And it's such a wonderful, I would say, stress reliever.
Okay, wow. So basically this was sort of procrastination as
It
well. I
was.
mean, you wanted to
Relieving
paint for
stress.
so long, yes. But okay, Maha, I have a question for you. Since all this time you've been talking about how you procrastinate for your assignments and everything, so it is related to that. You yourself said that in the last moment, I mean, that is the moment of productivity, you just have to keep doing it. How do you feel like you can sort of prolong those moments of productivity, and rather than procrastinating, you can keep working in those moments?
Okay, so
How often can you observe those moments?
Okay, so I have actually tried it, and I've like tried to change the pattern of like last minute panic.
Yeah.
And what I've like come across is that I can play music in my room, and on like a medium voice, and I can
Right.
like work, and I can actually be productive at that very moment.
Okay, so that works for you.
Yeah, that works for me, and especially that on the other hand, I have a like short-term memory, so it helps. It helps on that side.
retain things.
Yeah, yeah.
So music works for you. I think there are different ways for different people. I think if it works for you, then good enough. I mean, you don't
Actually,
have
there
to
is
be...
a research as well
Yeah,
that
please.
music without lyrics can increase your focus and attention.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So if you're studying, you should listen to the music but without lyrics. So that will also increase your attention. One more important point that we should look at it here. Things that we don't like, actually most of the time we procrastinate those activities. And a research says that 80% of the people in the world, they do what they hate to do, you know. So how can you like, once you don't like an activity, you will definitely procrastinate, and then they coin terminologies like in Europe they call it TGIF, thank God it's Friday, right? So, you know, they just wait for the weekend to enjoy and relax. So if you don't like your work, then definitely you are going to procrastinate. So in choosing what you do, first of all, we should find what we like to do, what our passion
Yes,
is.
I was coming to that because for a very long time, I'm pretty sure if you're watching, you have been listening to procrastination, the redundancy of this word at my show right now, and also how, you know, different people procrastinate and how, but at this point in time, we're going to talk about strategies on how not to procrastinate. So stay tuned because this is very interesting. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, so one point is that we need to look like what we like to do. Are we living some other people's dream or we are living our own dreams?
Okay.
So mostly we land up in professions that we don't like, and then, you know, we have to manage that work and personal life balance, and then we have to, like, people then look at the watch, that 9 to 5 concepts come into their mind, and they don't work, and they wait for the weekends to enjoy and relax, and they keep procrastinating the work. So first of all, we need to find out what we like to do, what our passion is, what our hobbies are. And once you turn your passion and hobbies into your profession, then probably you won't procrastinate because you love to do the things that are actually needed to be done.
Okay, hold that thought before you move on to the other strategy. But I want your input, Ms. Shabnam and Maha, about this point that he just said. First.
That's so true. It is true,
I
because
think
if
it's
you
absolutely true.
if you are not, you know, engaged in the particular, you know, if your heart's not in it, basically, if your heart's not in what you want to do, and you have something that actually goes against the type of personality you are, it's something you don't enjoy doing, it's human nature that you're going to put it off until, okay, you know, I have to do
Until
this
you
now.
really have to do
and
it,
then
right.
the same way, when there's something that you love doing, you're going to find yourself, you know,
Having so
ending
much
up in that scenario in even impossible circumstances. So that does play a huge role in this. But then at the end of the day, not everyone's going to be so lucky to have a job that they really love.
Absolutely,
Because then, in other words, you know, you're not working, are you? You're just having a fantastic life, doing what you love. Many people don't have that luxury, so you just have to be realistic about it and understand that, you know, like, you know, at the end of the, you know, there's the rainbow there, and you can see it. There's the light at the end of
Just
the tunnel.
work through it
So
to
just
get to the
work through it and think of the positive things that come along with it, like your salary.
Right. I think that's what we all do. What about you, Maha? Do you
Okay, so I
relate to
cannot
this
relate to this because I've done things that I love and I know what I love, but it's just, I don't get the motivation of like continuing with that, so I just cannot relate to it. I've done things
Okay,
that I
wow.
love.
Interesting.
I just can't like keep up with them.
And when the motivation comes, you know, there are, we can divide this motivation into 3 categories. One is called self-motivation, then social motivation, and then structural motivation.
Okay, wow.
Usually in our lives, we actually focus on one form of motivation, maybe self-motivation, or maybe social, or maybe structural. But we don't actually utilize all the 3 forms of motivation simultaneously.
Right.
And if we do that, it will increase, it will boost our motivation towards an activity. What is self-motivation actually? Self-motivation comes from pain and pleasure, like we discussed earlier. Okay, you can visualize your default and
Rewards,
design
basically.
future. Yeah. Then comes the social motivation. We call it praise and pressure. The people around you. You involve them in your goals. For example, like Maha, if she was going to do a thesis and she involves her family in it, like hold me accountable if I don't do it, and reward me, praise me if I do it, pressurize me if I don't do it. That is called social motivation. So you actually make, you include people into your goal, and you tell them to hold you accountable when it is needed. And the third form is actually called structural motivation.
Right.
Sticks and carrots, you know. You design rewards for yourself, and you design punishments for yourself. So utilizing all the 3 forms of motivation. Another point which is very important.
Yes, before we move on, you wanted to add something because I felt like
exactly, amazing. I was just about to say what he said, that the reward system, you can, you know, reward yourself as well. Give yourself a treat at the end of something, maybe an activity that you don't like. But think, okay, after that, I'll do this. Yeah.
You know, you're
and
actually, please go on.
so you know, many times we're not nice to ourselves. Sometimes we're just so strict on ourselves, and we're sometimes not behaving like our own best friends is what we should do. So we should be nicer to ourselves.
That's absolutely right. And you know, since we're talking about rewarding, I feel like I should tell all of you this. So when we were little, my sisters and I, my mom obviously and my dad used to sort of push us, namaz padho, namaz padho. But to be honest, not a lot of children do understand how important it is. So we didn't either. So she would say, this is a Kit Kat, a small piece of Kit Kat or whatever. I'm putting it here, namaz ke baad utha lena. So, you know, it was sort of a reward for us.
Of
And we
course,
actually stood by it. We started offering prayers, if not 5 times, maybe 3 times. And then we moved to 4 and then 5. So it was pretty amazing, Mama. So yes.
That's a very good point. Actually, we call it you have to transplant rewards in activities where there are no instant gratifications. Activities that are healthy, for example, homework, studying, exercise, or any activities that are very important in our lives, there are no instant gratification in those activities. So you have to transplant, but consumable rewards, like you said, Kit Kat. If she would have asked you, okay, I'll take you to the zoo if you offer praise, so she cannot take you to the zoo 5 times a day.
Right, right.
So consumable rewards,
Okay.
not non-consumable rewards, and non-consumable rewards for results and consequences. For activities, consumable rewards.
Okay.
For results and consequences, non-consumable rewards.
Okay,
What
okay.
will happen when you give non-consumable rewards for consequences for the results? Those non-consumable consequences or rewards will remind you of your achievement and will
Yes.
motivate you for another achievement.
For, yeah, achieving something
And
greater maybe.
consequences, consumable rewards actually tricks your brain. Your brain thinks the pleasure that came from Kit Kat actually came from namaz.
Yeah.
So your brain tricks you again for another namaz, you
How
know,
amazing
because
is that?
yeah. So consumable and non-consumable rewards, we need to
perfect.
differentiate in
Thank you
between.
so much for telling us that and making me learn so many things, because I do have some, you know, younger sisters, teenagers, and they are so hard to deal with. I mean, even my mom and I, all the time that we speak on the phone, we're just discussing them. They have so many issues. I love you guys, but of course we need to take care of the procrastination that goes into your work. So thank you so much for joining us, all 3 of you, early in the morning especially, but towards the end. Very quickly, one-liners from all of you to the procrastinators out there, starting with Ma'am Shabnam, okay.
Okay, you know, don't be an ostrich.
Oh, perfectly said, I think. Well, enough said. What about you?
Make a dream collage. Find out pictures, the car that you want to drive, the home that you want to live in, the quality of life that you want to live. Make a dream collage, paste it on a page and see it daily in the morning. That will motivate you and it will help you not to procrastinate.
Wow, that's brilliant. What about you, Maha?
I'll just say that wait for the results. I promise you, I've like
Go on.
from here to here, I've moved from here to there. So please stop procrastinating and focusing on things more.
Okay, and start being productive, because you
Yeah.
do achieve better things.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you learned anything from our show, please write to us on our Facebook page with the name of World This Morning, on Twitter, World This Morning without a G, Daily Motion on YouTube, World This Morning, and if you've missed this, the repeat is going to be at 11 p.m. tonight. Till the next time, take care. Good morning.